Okay, so we're going to be potentially an idiot again and see if the Xbox app wants to play nice this time around, which I kind of doubt, but, you know, we'll do the science together, I guess. It was at least vibing fine the last, 10 minutes, but I suspect that because I'm starting to stream, that might be problematic. So, as far as builds done, I did the year-end 2023 build thing, and then realistically I haven't done a whole lot of build updates or even multiplayer PvP since then, but I do have a couple of trials completed, so I have a couple of different builds that got updated. So the purpose of this is less a public showcase, I guess, more so a build history thing for myself. I mean, if people get value out of it for, doing their own trials or making their own builds or whatnot, all the better, of course. But basically, we are going to finally have all the prerequisites for making an Odin with this mini battle pass, which is probably not worded very well, but basically to make an Odin, which is the current highest level generator in the game, you need a Thor, and Thors are a limited battle pass craftable, which is now available as a reward in the current mini battle pass. And 2 battle passes ago it was the Stillwind. So this was 40,000, this was 20,000, within the past couple of months. So now for, $20 and a bit of a grind, effectively, whether or not you think that's worth it or not, in any case, is making it so that I can get an Odin. So the plan is to do that and then update a lot of builds, most notably art builds, since there's really no reason not to run max energy on them. So for instance, my Hind helicopter is already 12,000 power score, so bumping up to 14, 15, 16,000 doesn't really matter, because 2 Hurricanes mounted on the outside of the vehicle like that aren't going to be effective at any power score other than against bots or in raids and stuff. So I'm not too concerned about jumping it up even higher as far as actual PvP use for it. We'll see, especially since there's the impending energy reworks, which has been soon TM for the last 6 months. But in any case, as far as the builds that have occurred since then, some of them are, in the current garage slot, and some of them are uploaded. So I ended up getting rid of my Leviathan slot by accident, because that's just a thing now that we don't have build history saved, and didn't juggle slots well enough for the blueprints, evidently. So I was just testing how Machinist perk works as part of Operation Armor, and so I haven't rebuilt it yet. So it's literally just a test build. The helicopter slot is just for doing patrol, for getting patches for the dailies. So you have the Arbiters, which deal more damage the longer they fire. You have a favorite that can stop overheating for a period of time. And then you have the Cheetah, which decreases the cooldown of modules as you cover distance, which pairs with the Chameleon, so that I can fairly frequently pop Cloak right before I'm about to kill something without interrupting the firing, which also gives me additional patches for backstab. And then I use the Petrol because that decreases movement requirements, which means that the favorite charges up faster and the Cheetah charges more frequently to reset the cooldown of the Chameleon more frequently. Whoops, I did not mean to queue for battle. So I can just bring it into patrols and basically go DACA for a fairly long period of time. And then whenever a cabin is on fire, I can just cloak and then theoretically kill them within the 3 seconds to get that patch. So that's what this build is. It's not anything that's designed to be PvP viable or anything. It literally has the light high energy generator on the back top of it. It's not going to be terribly competitively viable, but that's just what I use for grinding out the dailies. The other aircraft that I made it a bit ago. I haven't actually finished it. Is the helicarrier. So this is meant to be reminiscent of the helicarrier from the Avengers movies, and so this is designed to function as the middle part, and I have yet to actually have friends who are on in order to make the front or back pieces, but it's like a lot of parts, and thus it's kind of difficult to iterate on this because of the fairly limited range of what I can replace, especially with other parts of the same size. So, for instance, the side armor here is like 9 different parts on either side, and all of these are fairly large pieces. So it's difficult to reduce the part count by using larger pieces because there's just a fairly limited number of those that we have. So as far as updates I'm looking to make for this, I really need to refuse the Yokozuna. I already spent like 14,000 coins at the last upgrade event and didn't get the fusion I wanted, so that's something that will have to continually be touched on, unfortunately, mostly because the Yokozuna I don't think has ever showed up as a guaranteed upgrade event, so needing to like randomly fuse each time is a pain in the ass, especially because of course it's a legendary, so it gets pretty expensive pretty quickly. But in any case, I want to get the additional 3 kph from that, which will kick up to the base of 70, and then the engine will multiply that, so it's not going to just be 85, it'll be closer to 86, 87, 88 kph. Additionally, it's currently running the 2 Starfall, which I'm probably going to stick with, but that's with a legendary generator, and again, as an art build, if and when I get the Odin, I can theoretically just upgrade to that with little reason not to, and that would let me bring in another cooler or perhaps a radar for the build. Additionally, I have the fin wheel now, so I can replace the oppressor with it because the upgrades notwithstanding, especially because the fin wheel is pre-upgraded from the battle pass. But the oppressor is just basically a weaker fin wheel in literally every category other than perk, where this is 80 kph for 80% weapon rotation, and this is 110 kph for 50% damage. I think it's resistance. I find it hard to believe that it's damage reduction, but it might also be that. But in any case, being able to go faster, being able to have more power, being able to carry more is all fairly important. It also has a bit more of a convenient size because this is a 4x3x7, which is really awkward since pretty much everything in the game wants to be in a power of 2, especially because the hitbox is like not very intuitive for the top, so it's essentially a full 3x4, or I guess 3x2 in the center, even though it looks like you should be able to put pieces in front of and behind the air intake, but you can't. So yeah, it's still got some like convexity to it, so like you can put some parts that are really thin here or on top, but the middle area is essentially completely blocked off. So that's annoying, whereas while the fin wheel is physically quite a bit larger, it's a 4x4x6, which fits into most scenarios a hell of a lot better. So my plan is, get the Odin, and then basically strip these parts out and replace them. So I can put the Odin, for instance, sideways here, directly behind the cabin, instead of the seals, and then I can put the fin wheel right in front of it, and that actually ends up saving me quite a bit of space, because we don't have a heavy relic generator currently, so it's, whatever. I'm sure I'll eventually have to push stuff back around again afterwards, but in the meantime, that'll work. And then I've also been playing around with the gun placements a bit. I found out interesting, like this part isn't a surprise, but the Starfall as a dedicated AA weapon has some of the best firing angles in the game. But very interestingly, this little area at the top where it can't reach is also directly lining up with the min and max range of the camera. So, for instance, if I look all the way down, the gun stops being able to aim down at the exact spot where the camera can't rotate any further down either, so I don't actually lose any range of fire with it. which is pretty interesting. Now, the caveat being that if this is a Fusion, especially with a, 3-piece front back, I don't know if I'll be able to actually have the guns on the bottom, because that might block other firing angles. My suspicion is the best use case is going to be having everybody have their guns undermounted and then trying to stay above whatever we're shooting at, because trying to have them all on like different places, like on the sides or whatnot, is going to be painful. And to be fair, technically, like, I can do it with a side mount as the middle piece, because the guns actually are aligned to shoot between the two sets of blades, but even then it's extremely tight, and obviously if you're doing any sort of aerial maneuvers whatsoever, that's not going to be an option anymore. So a lot of tweaks I'll probably have to do, but that's sort of like I can't really do that until I actually get the Fusion build part of it working with others. So in the meantime, fairly happy with it. Like, I redesigned the bottom and sides quite a few times. I knew I wanted to use the crane parts, but originally I was using, or rather debating using, the 7x3x1s to make it longer and thinner, but then you get some bad numbers again with the whole power of 2, so even with the current frame setup you can see it's somewhat inconsistent. So based off of the like physical blocking off I did, based off of the actual model of the helicarrier, as well as the dimensions that it ended up being with the others, I sort of just opted for this as the current setup, but it could theoretically get changed again, of course, once I like end up fusing with others. Eventually it would, like, originally it was just supposed to be a single person build, but like it takes way too many parts, especially for the size. So this is approximately the layout of the helicarrier. If you had 3 of these pieces front to back, this is approximately where the blades would be, and approximately, the scale of how wide the build would be and how long it is. And even then, again, I'm at 80 parts. So if I wanted to make it smaller, I'd have to somehow scale it, and it's difficult to do that with the propellers being such a fixed size, especially because it's kind of hard to armor them. Like, they're not very generous with their hitbox at all. Like, they extend all the way out there for the rotation, so you can't even, like, encircle them like I originally wanted. So we'll have to see. I mean, maybe if we get, like, some smaller propellers, or offset propellers, maybe, but the thing is, this is already very close to, like, its limit on tonnage. So me going from the oppressor to the fin whale, actually gives me slightly more breathing room with losing a single propeller without losing any other mass. But otherwise, like, I mean, it needs all of these propellers. So, like, I can't probably just use smaller propellers because they're going to have less lift, and I really can't use more propellers than 8 because this is already eating up the part limit quite heavily. So yeah, until such a time as maybe, like, if they go the other way and they had like a beefier arm strut while keeping the propeller dimensions themselves the same size and then made it taller, then I could get 4 parts back and only have 4 of them maybe, which is more true to the helicarrier, especially if they're like self-enclosed in some sort of, circular enclosure. But again, that's not currently the state of the game or what we're doing, so I can't do much with it, unfortunately. And I mean, I've already redesigned this I think 4 or 5 times, so it's sort of just an ongoing thing. But again, because it's an art build, I'm not really too concerned with the actual viability of it. For the main slot, that's where most of the trial stuff came in, so I think I haven't been keeping track of it, and you can't sort this list or anything. So for instance, I know I finished the Mastodon trial recently. You can see that was at the end of March, and with the advent of the new cryo weapons, I did very recently finish the patch part of that. I still haven't gotten the weapon patch part of that. I haven't gotten all the Dominator patches, but that's because, the hundreds of prior patches I have don't count. As soon as the trial is released, it resets its count for it. So for instance, I've gotten unyielding more than 16 times in my entire Crossout career, but I've only gotten unyielding 16 times since this trial came out, which didn't even come out with the weapons. It came out I think a month or 2 later. So I'm almost back down basically to just needing relics, but like I'm not going to explicitly farm Dominator. It'll just happen when it happens, and I'm waiting for the lighters at, I believe the number was at level 113. I'd have enough lighters to get the second narwhal, rather than just buying one and then having the firing. With the one I already got from the battle pass, with its reloading time debuff, reloading time decrease and projectile speed increase, making it somewhat difficult to use both of them together, especially because I alt-fire the weapons rather than firing them at once. Makes it a little bit difficult to be consistently aiming with them, because they're going to have slightly different performance. I mean, you can make up the reloading time by running the Hadron, for instance, but I can't really do much about the projectile speed, and that's going to be significant at 25%. So that's that, and then it's back to relics. But the current price of relics is going like super fucking up, because of course everybody's hoarding uranium for making their Odins once they get the Thor as well. So, you know, big shock there. The builds that I had been using for it, I already talked about the Chonk build before, and the basis of it was the Stop clan from PC, the Stop tanks, and the leader that basically admonished my performance of it by saying it's because I was using it as a reverse tank rather than using it as a I forget the terms they use, but basically rather than using its broadside for protection, I was basically pointing it directly towards enemies, which is making it a lot easier to strip, especially at the 18,000 power score. Now, to be fair, that might be less of an issue now that hovers and machine guns are like less of a meta. It's very heavy CQC, but I mean, even then, I don't think Mastodons are going to do much about, you know, flame dogs chewing on their Goliaths on the side. So I don't think it would have performed any better, but in any case, I didn't update this build. In the meantime, I ran a couple of variants. So I had this, which was my original idea for running it as well, which was a 9,000, 10,000-ish build running the Harpy, because in theory, I never tested this, but because the Harpy is supposed to increase explosion radius, I figured that meant that it would also increase the radius that's getting heated by the Mastodon, and in theory, as a result, you know, started double dipping on the AoE heating and damage components of the Mastodon. But especially with the Omnis being so much power score when you're running 6 of them, it was not at a good power score to be effective. So I did do quite a bit of the challenge with it nonetheless, but it felt like I was really reliant on the team for doing damage, and then just kind of like picking off stragglers. So come to think of it, I don't know if I actually have any videos. I know I have some for the other build, but if I had planned this a little bit better, I probably would have already organized and checked videos and then edited them into a compilation, but I did not, so. Yeah, this is all the really old stuff really quick. And then that's the event. It's not even showing the recent stuff on that list. That's interesting. But yeah, picture. So I might have already moved them. Okay, so I have a few videos here for the other build, but I'll get to that. So this is what I was running originally in any case for the trial. So the Doppler, a little bit of extra health for the Mastodon with the Averter, and then a cap can. But yeah, I felt especially it had sort of speed issues, because even with the Geagle, you're tapped out at the 100 kph, which meant that it wasn't really good for avoiding anything, especially fire dogs, which are still, you know, a problem for this particular build, like 6 months ago, even before the whole meta shift. So it's, yeah, not anything really special or interesting. It doesn't look particularly good either, but that's what it's running. Now that I have it on video, I can delete it. But But I will play around with this some more in the future, potentially, you know, if and when I get another one. At the very least, I can always just retrofit it for mammoths, so keep that around. And then the final variant of it, which I had ended up using to complete the trial, was a similar concept but rebuilt. So I put the Mastodon on top so that I could still shoot at things while I was running away. I changed to wheels so that I could actually run away, and then I ran the oppressor engine, which allowed me to get the faster rotation in order to do those first two things a lot better. So it's kind of funny, like it's just like, it looks like just a super small shitty tank, but I found that it ended up being a lot more successful because I'd be able to like snare people with the cap can a little bit easier by being ahead of them, being able to hide it behind things as I turn, and then being able to, of course, keep blasting at people, especially, again, the faster melee and flamethrower builds while I was actually still running away, as well as being able to shoot while running away. So this ended up working a lot better. The buggy wheels, of course, just increase the, or rather decrease the speed I need to be traveling to get the full effect of the oppressor, and then the modules were basically identical, but I ended up saving quite a bit of power score by not needing 6 omnis. So the buggy wheels are half as much power score each, so I got down to almost sub 9,000 power score. I mean, I still wasn't concerned about adding fuel tanks or anything. In theory, I could have probably stripped it down a little bit more if I was really super concerned about the brackets, but this ended up performing fairly decently. So I'm going to see if I actually have any clips. I know how to like download everything because they are now deleting the clips automatically every 90 days or something, but of course I'm going to try and remember where the fuck they had stored because I have like 4 different file locations for things. So let's spider build. I don't know what for. Probably the other build I was going to want to talk about. I have no idea I'm running this build. I know what this build is. I don't know why I was running it in PvP or whatever. So yeah, and then these are just the newer ones again for the snow build, the Jotun build, which I'll be talking about after anyway. But I don't think I actually have any clips of the Mastodon build, at least not here, which kind of just goes to show that obviously it didn't go so super good. Let's see, yeah, it's the Firebug build. So I have a bunch of clips for those because they're performing really well, even, you know, months ago, but there doesn't seem to be any Mastodon here. That's just the helicopter and patrol, like I was saying. And that's, yeah, the Reaper build again. So I might still have them somewhere. Like I said, I have like 3 or 4 different places for the clips, but in any case, as far as specifically here, meh. Well, that's awkward. Especially because I'm not gonna change that. I mean, it seems like it's doing okay on the preview screen on my other computer. Oh, whatever. I'm sure it'll be fine. Probably. Yeah, whatever. I said I was being dumb and doing it this way in any case. So that is that, and that I threw on the exhibition just because I wasn't using it for literally anything else. So that can also probably be deleted. I don't think I'll be reusing that build for anything specifically. Like I said, if I run the Mastodons again, I'd want to run like a double set or run a like actually dedicated super heavy build. So I'll probably, I guess I can just leave that one up, whatever, it's at least the most successful version. So then on the topic of relics, I don't think there are any other builds up here that are related to that. A bunch I got to rebuild anyway, just for the whole mass changes since I posted them. A bunch that I am missing the Icarus 4s for rebuilding them, especially like this is literally from like when they changed the mesh like 1.5 years ago, and so they changed the position on the build, so it's an invalid placement now. So I gotta re-upload it, but in order to do that I need to have Icarus 4s, which I don't. So that's just kind of been pushed later and later, but like they are builds that are still of interest and I want to poke around with again in the future, especially the Stinger. because it's pretty fun in raids. But I mean, that's also using spaced armor. So like, again, a lot of this stuff is super outdated. Some of them are fairly minor too. Like this one is just a couple 100 kilos with the changes over the past 6-ish months. But some are obviously a lot more severe. So the other relic one that I have a build for currently, at least, is the firebugs, but their price spiked as a result of the meta changes. So I ended up flipping them. So I think I got them for, yeah, like 30,000. I sold them for 40,000, and then I spent that into the Mastodon, and then I'm currently just sitting on the money because, again, all the prices of the relics is going up because of people using the uranium ore. So I need to reacquire the firebugs for this build, in theory, and of course it's also overmass now, but if I can just lose a couple of parts by ramming stuff, I'll be able to move around at full speed. I mean, like, CQCs are always been really powerful, but especially now it's very much the norm. So I think I probably get flamed, ironically, a lot more now than when I actually made and was using this build. But I mean, with all the clips I have of it, like, it worked pretty fucking well. And especially because I never made like a dog, flame dog, like beforehand. I just kind of stuck with the plank configuration. I don't think this is gonna work for me. So like actually having the placement of it and the overhang and whatnot was all something new I had to figure out. And I played around with it at like 9,000 power score again with a single one, and I didn't have very much luck with that at all. But at the 15,000 it worked fine. I guess I could actually show the videos for that. I'll literally have it open anyway. So, and I mean, they moved. This is what, videos, and then I had, where was it? Not just the screenshots, but this is where a bunch of them ended up getting sorted anyway. So this is, yeah, clips for last year, including some of the new ones up until January. But haven't had those since then. And then there's captures, which looks like it's been cleared out. And then I had, I don't know what the fuck this is here. Oh, this is just me remapping F12 and Steam not liking that. That's funny. So that makes sense. But then I also had a games folder specifically, and I don't understand why I'm not remembering where it is right now. Just because it's been a bit, to be fair. But I had one that was, yeah, there we go, subdivided for different games as well. So I have it auto-uploading, for instance, screenshots taken. So it's 2023, and then I sorted some Crossout stuff here as well, but it looks like that only goes up to 2022. So I don't think I have any videos scrolled away here for the Mastodon, luckily. So for, oops, I did not mean to open you up. Thank you. So again, these are probably very poorly cropped, which is to say they aren't cropped at all, but I can at least open, other than the PC not liking that I'm trying to open it while I'm streaming, which is also fair. Again, I probably should have had the foresight to download these ahead of time. That's fine, we'll get back to that. What we'll do is we will, I don't want to always keep it on this device, but I do want to keep it on this device. Hopefully this cues them all. Yeah, there we go. So we can check that after, probably in a bit when it's done screeching at me. Probably impacts the stream even more, but you know, be how to. So additionally, which is one I've already talked about before, I have the Whirlpool, which I actually haven't touched since making the video or uploading it, because this is a dedicated anti-aircraft build during the, you know, the challenges of Sky Raiders, where you had to take out aircraft. And now we have Starfalls. So I haven't really used this build, but again, it's cute. It's a turtle with whirls. It's great. It's punny. So even though I haven't used it, I've kept it up on Exhibition, because maybe I'll touch on it again in the future if I crack around with it some more. But it's since been replaced for the trial with this bad boy, which is running the Starfalls as a more... It's definitely way more effective against aircraft specifically. So I have their propeller on it, so that, for instance, if you do get those challenges, which is like kill 5 or 10 people, whatever, with rotors, it still counts, because even though I, pop it off at the beginning of the match, I'm still considered a rotor build, so people killing me still counts towards their trial progress. And then, again, with the Harpy increasing the explosion radius, considering the entire point of the Starfalls is they do more damage when they miss. I got a nice little narrow sort of aiming point for things directly in front of me. It's actually not very good, because of course anytime people just slightly go left or right, you completely lose them. But in any case, it protects the neutrino somewhat, and then it's a little bit more open for shooting above, and it's tended to work out for that fairly well. Still using the